Paul is from freightconnect.com, fr8connect.com. And he provides a service for people like us to help connect you with direct customers.
What would you say if someone was thinking about, and I'll be specific in that, if someone was thinking about becoming an owner operator or becoming a dispatcher, right, or a broker, a carrier, just there's different facets of our industry, but I'm keeping it to that because we're close to those people. What do you think is the first thing that they need to consider when thinking about embarking upon establishing a business? You know, and that doesn't mean you're going to go out and you got to buy all this equipment and then you have the business cards and all that and what have you, and I'm a business. But just thinking of it from the standpoint of, I'm moving into a situation where it's based upon how I conduct myself, right? I mean, people will look at me and see me operating as a business, right? As a carrier, as a broker, as a dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mindset need to be? What are some maybe top 3 things that they need to consider in getting into business? Because I think a lot of people may think, because there can be a low barrier to entry, right? And so this is a thing I'm going to do, or I'm going to try, and I'm going to go out here, I'm going to do, it's a way to make money, right? Or it's a side hustle maybe, or something like that. But I mean, you can get in and you can establish, you can do really well. You know what I mean? But what do you think the mindset should be? You know what I mean? So, because when you go in here.
Okay, I get it.
Okay.
The first 3, if you say, okay, what are the 3 things that come to my mind immediately? Number 1 is the why. Okay. Ask and be real honest with yourself. Say, why do I want to do this? What's my motivation?
Mm-hmm.
It can be a number of different things. None of them right, none of them wrong. It is what it is, but you need to know for your own reasons why. Maybe there are some that are wrong, because then you decide if this is just something I'm doing for this reason, or if it is really a business. And for instance, and I'll bring this up because I've heard it many times, and I always ask people, why do you want to be an owner operator?
Mm-hmm.
So I can drive a nice truck and go fast. I don't necessarily think, no, that's some people's top 2 reasons. I don't necessarily think that's a great reason. That's maybe not a business then. That's you looking good and going fast.
That's a different profession. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it right or wrong? No, but I think your result and your outcome is going to be very different. Now, if you said your number 1 reason is because you've always wanted to be in business for yourself, or you have an entrepreneurial mindset, or you think, you've been an employee driving for somebody for so many years, you think you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
You might not, you might not, but at least then you'll know and you have tried.
Yeah.
So the number 1 would be the why, and making more money it's a legitimate one.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guarantee you will, but because it forces you to be honest with yourself, and then you call it what it is. Either it's a business or it's what I just like to do, as a hobby. And then next maybe is you have to learn. I think in any business, if you want to be really successful, I think you have to learn to have clear moments of like self-examination, right? Where you can just step back from whatever the heck it is that you're doing and say, over the course of my life, I'm 40 whatever years old, I'm 30 years old. What have I been good at? What have I been not good at? What are like the things I continue to do wrong over and over again? And then can I fix it? Like, okay, so say I've not been a good communicator in the past, and that's caused me to lose some friends or blow some deals. And then can I fix it? So just like I am probably my own worst critic. there's probably nobody that can say anything as bad about me as what I say about myself.
Right.
But those times of being really honest with yourself, they can be priceless.
Yeah.
And there's things that you've taught me along those lines. Like before talking to you, before doing YouTube, one thing that both of them have taught me is how to communicate, because I've never been a good communicator.
Okay.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cost me. It's cost me It's cost me relationships. So doing it and forcing myself to do it has brought about some maturity in me. And it's made a ton of difference.
Yeah.
So that's my honesty with myself. Right. And now remember, we're talking business here. Like anybody can buy a truck and drive it. You could be the best truck driver in the world. You could do the most difficult things on the first try, the best driver in the world, and not be a good business person. Right.
Right.
Probably the best ones are the ones that are mediocre at both. You know?
Yeah.
Usually when you're an ace at one, you sacrifice in another.
Yeah.
So I know that sounds like all hocus pocus, maybe a little bit of Tony Robbins, but yeah, having those moments of where I can sit down and say, what am I good at? What am I not good at? Because also in doing that, maybe you need to delegate some certain things.
Yeah.
Let other people handle it.
Yeah. Right.
For your own good.
Right.
And then thirdly, I would suppose probably being capable of change.
Okay.
Like the most successful owner operators that I know, or even business people I know, even though they may not like it, but you have to be able to admit when you're wrong, somebody else is right, and be able to make that change. It's hard. Like sometimes if you believe something and you believe you're right, it can be hard to change. But you got to know when somebody else is smarter than you, and you got to listen to them.
You know what? Can I
for your own good?
Can I interject real quick?
Please do.
Just touch upon that. So there was I was just flipping through some channels, right? I don't watch much TV. I was looking for, I think, something about Kiev, right? Kiev. And the TV stopped on Gordon Ramsay. You know who that guy is, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the food guy. He goes into restaurants and help struggling restaurants. And so so he was talking to this restaurant, and the people were giving feedback, or he was asking questions to the staff. So what would you change, or what do you guys see as being maybe a challenge here, and blah blah blah. They all said the same thing. I mean, it's all produced, I know, the show is, and so what you see is maybe some that didn't actually really happen, who knows. But it was all about the owner. They were saying that she takes too much control. Like if something's not going her way, then she'll just take it over. And people don't get an opportunity to grow. They don't get a chance to be who they are, or to put their twist on it, or whatever it is. But she will just take everything and just do it and won't listen. Right. And so the way the show went, some guy, he spoke up, because several of them said the same thing, and you could see the expressions on her face. But one guy said it, and she just looked at him and said, you just need to shut up. You talk too much. That's your problem. You just talk. And then they go back and forth and have an exchange. She stands up, gets in his face, said, you know what? You just need to leave. He said, fine. I have no problem doing that. While he's walking out, he's still talking. And then Gordon calls his name and says, look, I want you to stay. Please have a seat. Sit down. And he sits down, right? And so you just see it in her face. She's like, I can't believe what I'm hearing, and she doesn't believe it. It's hard to hear it, like you're saying, right? But then my question, though, is how in that moment, you can hear it all day long, but how do you know? What do you do? How do you know if what they're telling you is right? You know what I mean? And that you're wrong, or that you do need to. How do you do that?
I don't know. Maybe it's maybe a culmination of life experiences. And I don't know. Probably just a great deal of thought and being honest with yourself. Look at where they're coming. Examine all possible sides of it, I guess. Put yourself in their shoes of what they're saying, and then what are your thoughts, and what's the likely outcome if I follow what I'm thinking? What's the likely outcome if I follow what they're thinking? Maybe sometimes there's the middle ground might be the best place to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Listening to you talk, I just thought about something. I have found where, if someone brings something to my attention, what I'll think about is different scenarios, right? I mean, back in the day, it was always trying to prove someone wrong, right? Because you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, that's not me, and I don't want to be perceived that way. So let me give you reasons as to why that's not me. But as you said, when you become honest with yourself, I think I know that's where growth can happen, And so there was where I would look back on other scenarios, right? Even conversations with this individual or outside of this individual, and even be able to ask other people, what do you think? Not even, I don't have to be specific as to what that conversation was that I had previously, but just formulate my own from the standpoint of my relationship with this other person, right? And ask them and to get their honest opinion, and you've got to not just be honest with yourself, but allow yourself to be vulnerable, and allow other people to give you feedback. And with that, if you're starting to see some similarities, right, and it's starting to click, then maybe that is then maybe you can say, okay, there's something here, because if it's 2 or 3 other people saying the same thing, then it must be affecting me in this way, because this person is over here telling me, Paul, you could do so much more business if you do this and that, or if you stop doing this and that, or hey, Paul, you don't listen to. I had a call recorded recently, and a friend of mine was helping me, and I'm always practicing. And so she gave me some tips, and she said, when you were talking to the lady, she mentioned about her kids, right, and her time, and she said that was something you did not explore, because she may be interested in what it is that you're offering, and she may need it, right? But her challenge right there at that point is her kids, right? And that is something that if you're able to bring a solution to that, not that you're going to find a babysitter or babysit for or anything like that, right? But if you're able to communicate with her on that level, right, then it may be something that she sees that one, it can be a part of her life, in regards to the program or whatever it is that she was trying to do. And then secondly, she may see it as a solution, to where, okay, this is going to allow me to structure things in a different way, or it's going to help to get me to where I'm really trying to get to, right? And I'll be better for my kids, and for that. But the thing is that I did not explore that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it was a distraction, not that it bothered me, but to the point where it was even it was a distraction for her. You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so other times, if you bring other people in, if somebody, you don't care for what someone's saying, but to figure it out, maybe that's an option. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. And hopefully you have the wisdom to know the difference. I mean, it's all time and maturity and where you're at in life, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah. So you said, why was the top one? Why you're getting into this? Why do you want to do it? Right.
Yeah.
And then it's the self-examination, right? Be honest with yourself, right? And then the other is capable of change, right?
Yeah. So are you writing these down so that someday you can twist my words and use them against me? I know. I know. That's all right. That's all right.
Now I can say words of wisdom from a young man I knew once upon a time, and then I can approach you in that way.
Who has since gone insane and is now institutionalized in a padded room.
Oh, well, maybe you'll have done so many wonderful things by that time. So
probably end up like Howard Hughes, but hey.
Oh no. At least you'll know how to fly a plane, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, well, I really appreciate this today. Just trying to provide some insight. So,
Yeah.
Paul, I wanted to thank you, and hopefully we can do this again. I really enjoyed just a conversation. Really.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, man. I mean, just everybody go out there. I don't know if it's sunny where you're at, but there's freight out there to be moved, and I'm like, just go build relationships and move freight. That's the best advice right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, my man. And
All right,
we will do this again.
Yes, sir.